Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dark and Stormy Nights. This is Loki.
This is Tyr.
This is Odin.
Actually, this is Fenrir on the other line. He is our intern for the day, and we are joined by John David, creator of the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles. Say hi.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be on the Dark and Stormy Nights. I listen to you guys and I think you guys are wonderful.
Well, we think you're wonderful, too. I was just laughing my ass off at your show earlier. So,
for those of you who don't know, John David, is creator of the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles, which is a comedy crime podcast that's based on true events.
and it is absolutely hilarious.
It is amazing. If you haven't listened, go check that out.
I was just laughing at the episode with Blair yesterday, and I could not. I was laughing about that all day.
Spoilers.
So.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird thing. I mean, it was supposed to be a movie one day, and I go, frick it, I'll just do it on a podcast. And thank you for listening. And it was unintentionally campy and funny. You go, no, this could be so serious. I'll use my own voice, and I'm glad it came out the way it did. It is kind of fun.
Oh, it came out great. I hope to see it on Netflix someday. That would be perfect.
Oh, for sure.
So.
I think so. I have high hopes. I pulled the book version off of the shelf. It was on Amazon, and I had a second book in the series, and I'm writing the third book. And so I pulled them off the shelf because of the success of the podcast. I go, you know what? I'm going to get an agent for those books. So they're all off. So I think one day I'll at least sell a TV screenplay on it or a movie screenplay on it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's amazing listening to it. And I remember that I started listening early on when we were just kind of getting started as podcasters. And I'm like listening to this production, and you've got the voices and the sound effects, and like you feel like you're there. You feel like you're like listening to an episode, of a show on TV. And I'm like, oh Lord, we're not doing any of that.
Well, I'm like, how does he do all of this? It's crazy.
I know, like so much work must go into it, but it's truly amazing. Like the finished product is incredible to listen to.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just like I knew enough about cutting and editing in movies. I knew enough about cutting and editing in sound, and I knew about sound effects. So I knew a lot of it about everything. So it just came together. It was a lot of work, as you say, and I appreciate when people know that work came out. But if you listen to it and you're enjoying it and you listen to the next episode, that's all that matters, because you can do it easy or, interview podcasts or something that seems easy. It's not. None of it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the love, I think, that goes through it into the world. Like your podcast, I think it's great because it's these three people and they're talking and they're compelling and, why do you listen? Because because it's good, or what is why? Because it's good. Because you guys put so much into it, and it's not really the tech part or anything else. It's just from your heart. You guys are passionate,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that shows up. And that's why I love podcasts now, because if you don't hear that passion put into it, or for why it was made, like you make this because you like writers, so you make a podcast. So that's what comes out in podcasts. So if you're listening, podcasters, just put your heart into it. Don't try and make money. Don't try to do that. Just put your heart into it, and it might be a success,
Right.
It really is an act of love. I mean, you can't get into this expecting to make. You can't get into it expecting to make a fortune. So many of us just never make anything. But if you love it, I think people feel it. People know when you love what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess that brings me to my first question for you.
First question for me. Okay, ready.
Do you write? Do you feel like you write for yourself, or do you write for your audience?
Do I feel like I write for myself? Yeah, I think when I've heard you guys talk about writing in that point when you're starting to write something, Yeah, I think I write for myself because it has to come out, the story, and then you start writing it, and then the characters, what's based on true or not, which mine are mostly based on exact facts, and then the characters take off, because I can't really write, about mafia stuff, or they would kill me. When they become the fictional version of themselves, and they become real characters, and you don't try and make them funny or sad or depressed. They are just people and three-dimensional. That's when it takes off, and that's when you're channeled, and 10 hours later you're like, what just happened? You're like, Jesus came into my body and typed this novel. We all felt it a million times, and
Right.
I think it's the same thing on stage where you feel that that clapping and so forth. So yes, you start writing for yourself, and then you write for the project, and then at the editing, guess who you're writing for? You're writing for the public, so it sells, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah.
a very good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually, before you pulled the books, I did read some of the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles, the novel. Yes, I did, and I loved it. But I have not at all read the Glow Stick Gods, which was your second book. So is that like a continuation of the Mafia Hairdressers, or like even with the podcast, is season 2 going to be a continuation, or is this like a whole new story?
Yeah, I'm trying to configure the Glow Stick Gods into being season 2 for the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles, and it was basically about the time my book Mafia Hairdresser was being written, and I think it's already been published, and I met this guy in the circuit scene in the 90s rave scene, and he was like, oh, it was really, really cool, and I was huge on Twitter, and so people knew me, and I would go into a club, and people go, oh, it's Mafia Hairdresser, and so he was intrigued with that. We got engaged. I moved to Toronto, and we just traveled the world going to these raves, these A-lister raves. But everyone was crazy, and I wasn't one of those people that would just, get all drugged out. I was just like, yeah, I'll take an ecstasy and go. And it was all these people were dropping like flies in my life. I mean, literally. Like, why are you doing so much crystal meth? So I wrote about that underground scene in a funny version, but I wrote it in perspective of the different characters. So I didn't write it first person on Mafia Hairdresser writing a second book, but in the different heads of the other people, which was brilliantly done, but the tone was not like the Mafia Hairdresser.
Okay.
So it was kind of a hit on its own right, but they were together. And I think if a publisher comes along, an agent comes along, I'm just going to say, fuck it. You have to publish it that way.
Right.
I think if the smart series version would be just rewrite it all in the Mafia Hairdresser's voice. But I like it that in the second way. And it got a couple of awards, too. So
Oh, awesome.
that was that book about. It's a true story based on me being a party boy when Mafia Hairdresser came out.
Okay.
I was just bored.
Well, it sounds exciting, so we'll have to check it out.
I'm a drug-addicted person, but it was fun, and I was like, this is really fun. This is great.
A little too great sometimes. So,
and flippantly, too, just as flippantly as I told you, which I'm talking about life and death, horrible things, same thing in Mafia Hairdresser, that was the Glow Stick God. It was told just like it. And I think it was just a point of view of life. It was in there. Talking about a recipe for being high at nightclubs. What's wrong? Page turner, page turner, page turner.
you definitely have a different perspective. It's crazy. I mean, I'm listening to this show, and I'm like, I knew that you had said that this is pretty much like taken right from real life, and I'm like, this is insane. I can't believe this really happens.
I know.
And I'm like, this is something that like people write this, and you're like, no, this can't possibly happen. I'm like, I could kind of see this. I could kind of see this happening. This is crazy. So, but with as wild as your life seems to be, I mean, I'm sure maybe it's calmed down since then. But how do you find time? How do you schedule the time to write like this?
Well, up to about when I started this about almost a year ago, I was social social media consulting. That was the bulk, 90% of my income. And I was just doing hair sideline. And now, since a year ago, since I started this podcast, I just quit social media consulting. I make 10% of what I make because I rent a hair salon suite downstairs I live in a high-rise downtown Chicago.
Uh-huh.
So I do as much hair as I can, and then the rest of the time I write, or I'm catatonic going, I should write, and I'm going to go to hell because I'm not writing. Those are the three things, which is hours of the time. Like I can go for weeks and go, I should write, I hate myself, or, write the season 2. But you know how you just get in this catatonic state.
Yep.
And I don't have anything else to do but do hair. And then maybe have 3 clients that week. So I have plenty of time now, and I find I'm just wasting more time than I was when I was a consultant.
Right. We all go through those phases.
I just need to do it more.
So, like we've already discussed, the Mafia Hairdresser story was based on a true story. So, was there like a point when you just really were living this and felt truly inspired to, I need to make this a screenplay or a novel?
I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and so after the Mafia Hairdresser thing happened, no, I opened up my little hair salon. The little hair salon was big in Long Beach as part of this Long Beach, California. I think we were like 5 businesses. We were all 24 years old in the redevelopment section. There was no businesses down there. The downtown was horrible. So I did that for a long, long time, and I just got burned out. I was so young, being this cool hairdresser,
Mhm.
and I used the Mafia money to open the salon. And I was just like, this is it? I'm a success? Great. This is fucked up. So I know it sounds weird, but I was just kind of bored, and I said, I think I want to be a writer, actor. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, just like everybody else.
Uh-huh.
And, so I wrote the Mafia Hairdresser screenplay. I had been taking screenplay courses, like really, really cool people in Hollywood, like, masters of it, where they do little workshops. So I learned from the best, and then it shopped around Hollywood. I had friends who worked for like Sherry Lansing and some big Hollywood mucky mucks. Even Disney looked at it at the time. Some people, and they go, "This is really great, but it's a gay main character, so maybe you should change it to a woman." And I think I even toyed with that, or wrote some stuff like that to change it. But anyway, I just moved to Chicago in '92 just to go, I'm done with Hollywood. I was done. So then I wrote the book, and
Yeah.
here I am, 30 years later.
Right. Well, we're glad you kept it true to it.
And I got distracted, which I think you guys sent me a questionnaire, and I said the main thing, like if any of your listeners or you guys any advice, it's like, just don't quit, stick with it. I think that's the main theme.
Mm-hmm.
I would just tell anybody about what I did.
Well, I'm glad you stuck to it too. I'm glad you didn't change the main character or anything like that, because
Right.
I love Jesse.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like, I don't think it would. It wouldn't be the same story.
No, not at all. No,
Yeah.
it's perfect the way it is.
Thank you. But it's amazing. Let's say you guys, I listened to your story, how you were world building, and your story in your podcast, The Dark and Stormy Nights, which is, I go, oh, look, I could hear how you were building a world, and I could hear how you were building your characters. But if one of you took, the whole section or a whole chapter, they would completely write it different. So it is a prism. So I know that maybe one day, if Mafia Hairdresser does get made into a movie, I know some director is going to come by and go, we're going to change him. He's going to be this black woman lesbian.
Right.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah. As long as the paycheck's big enough.
It is expected sometimes, I think, and I'm okay with that. Once I do my part, and then it's out there, then if somebody wants to rewrite it for screen or the Broadway musical, fine. but it is interesting.
Right, and you do see that all the time. You read the book first, and then you go see the movie, and like there's so much that's different. It happens all the time.
Even Marvel butchered the comic books.
Right.
So,
Well.
I mean, it's just unfortunately a fact of life,
Crazy.
Yeah.
And my book is all first person. The Mafia Hairdresser character, my screenplay was all the things with the cops and everything, things that I personally never knew in the real life version. Like, I wrote those things in. The Chicago mobsters, I wrote that after I did book tour with Frank Calabrese Jr. He's the big Chicago mobster that took down the Chicago mob. His dad, he reads great book, Family Secrets. Great book. But he and I talked, and it ended up we had connections back in the 80s. And he just had, just a wealth of information that I could add into the screenplay for the podcast. Stuff I wouldn't know about the mob.
Oh, so you had some like inside information there?
Yeah, just how they operated, how they spoke, a
Oh.
lot of the words they used.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, some stuff that I wouldn't know. So, and of course, the Mafia Hairdresser book is first person, and that Jesse character would not know any of that stuff.
Right.
It happened around him, not at him.
Right.
Yeah, I wondered kind of how you filled in those details. So that's interesting to know.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. So the time and place was even better. I think when the screenplay, I'm shopping around to querying agents right now, and now I know it's like, good script. You don't like it? I'll query someone else. So there's a little confidence behind it now because I have so many people that have put so much input into it. So
Mhm.
that's good.
So you wrote The Mafia Hairdresser. People obviously think that it's an interesting story. What do you think makes an interesting story?
Usually just in the first, if you're talking about a book and chapter, I'll go along with the writer or the journey if it's really focused on the subject matter. This person's needs and wants are presented, and those are relatable. Like, I read a book called Cold Justice lately, and I was pulled in the main character of Justice right away. And because of Tier's writing of, or Nova Drake's writing of this character who, was desperate but didn't know desperate, and then bang, something happens, and her needs and wants are exposed really well. So, you make someone desperate really fast, and then your story moves along really fast.
Okay, so it's basically the character and the kind of arc of the plot there.
Yeah. You throw the character a bone, but I'm also the same way in person. Like if I meet you in person, I'm probably gonna think, okay, we're gonna do small chit chat.
Mhm.
Turn around and have a drink instead of talk to you, or I'm gonna throw you some mean thing about your dress. I'm gonna throw a basket joke back to me, and then we're gonna go, best friends, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's almost like an aggressive thing. So if I
Right.
see that aggression in the first paragraph or pages, you got me.
Okay, that was actually that's actually the something that I noticed about like when I had first started reading your novel was that it's such an easy read. Like it's fast paced and kind of like your characters are kind of like sassy and snarky and like it's just perfect. Like I was laughing along with them, like every little jab that they took at each other. It's like you really capture that so well.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's just me in real life. I have no friends.
That gets harder as we get older, I think. Once I was out of high school, that was kind of the end of it. So have you ever watched or read something that encouraged you to change your style or your tone of writing or anything, or do you feel like you've pretty much stayed true to your tone throughout your creative process?
Yeah, I grew. I think the latest Mafia Hairdresser that was on Amazon was actually an addition that was 5 editions back. It had a lot of typos and so forth in it. I
Mhm.
just uploaded the wrong one last year or something.
Mhm.
And I looked at the difference in the, in the editions, and I go, I really did learn as a writer. And then I recently read a book called The Story Grid. I think it's kind of floating out there, kind of popular, about an editor, what makes a bestseller. And when you get to the editing part of your book, you use this template on your book, the pacing, the plot points, much like screenwriting, so you could understand it.
Mhm.
So I think I look at my writing differently. I'm happy to be writing throughout it and enjoy the process and be tortured by it.
Mhm.
Having sleepless nights to find out where my characters are going to get out of that thing, or
Right.
how they're going to get to this point. But it's that story grid template on the back, and that is the newest thing that I've learned. Just like, no, you have to follow the rules. Chapters have to be only a few pages long, not chip size, not thinner size. It doesn't
Right.
work. People won't read you anymore because they're used to binging you and so forth. I think I've learned a lot. How to switch narration and all that stuff. That's really hard.
Mhm.
That's a good call. I didn't think about how binge culture kind of like
Has
changed the way
affected-
it it
Oh,
all works.
that's
So-
true.
Okay, let's take just a split break,
Mhm.
and we'll be right back.
Dear listener, we accept that we had to sacrifice the whole Saturday for your entertainment, but we think you'd be crazy to miss an episode of The Dark and Stormy Nights. The world sees writers as they want to see them, in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each of us is a brain
And a dreamer.
And a creator,
and a basket case.
a researcher.
And a comedian.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Dark and Stormy Nights.
Listen to Dark and Stormy.
All right, folks, we are back with John David, creator of the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles, and we are moving along with our interview.
Wow.
So, okay. Well, you were just talking about how you aren't always so good about keeping up with your writing and what have you. What traps or limits your ability to write? What kind of things are holding you back?
I think it's just, I think it's a mountain that I know is there. Like, I know what I'm going to do. I think if writing is like, there's an old dance that's called the Apache dance, where it goes da-da-da-da-da, starts really slow. I know it does this, bam, it slam down to the ground, dirty and crazy. That's what I feel like. I'm just dancing really slow, and I just know once I start, I don't care if you have a birthday party. I don't know you. I don't care if there's something going on. I just want to show up. I'm just going to be the person who's invisible to everything out there, because I'm not going to stop, and I'll, be up 12 hours. I don't think I'm manic or crazy. I'll still go to the gym and eat good food, but I know the process. So I can go weeks of watching TV a lot, and I think that's just my process. I'll do my tasks and clean my house 19 times before I'll actually step into the project, and then when I do, in 9 months can go by. So I think it's
So like the floodgates will open up and it'll just all flow out.
yeah, and I know it's gonna happen. I know it's happening. Like I'm just tipping it right now with the third book. Because I didn't know I was gonna write the third book, but it's going good. It's fun.
Well, that's cool.
I've done so many different before podcasts. It was on Skype things or YouTube, and it's all changed. And boy, the tech and stuff has moved so quickly.
So fast.
How easy it is and how hard it is, how glitchy this is. It's been interesting the past 10 years.
Oh, that's what held us back for a long time. Me and Odin, we were working on podcasts for 7 years before we finally kind of figured out how to get it all to work. So, but
Yeah. I think it's great for your podcast, but if you're meeting so many people online on Twitter alone, and then they're really good allies. It's amazing how many people listen to you. I'm just amazed at how many people listen to my podcast. Like, oh, you listen to my podcast?
well, and that's
They have a highbrow brand or something.
I like seeing us as a community rather than competitors as well. So,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of good when you can get people together. But a lot of people don't see it that way.
I mean, I feel like there overall with podcasting, I feel like there's been, as far as like the community that we discuss with on Twitter and stuff, they seem like more family, like
Togetherness.
yeah, like
There's enough room
cross
for
promoting and
more
yeah,
of us,
like
yeah.
it's a pretty nice community.
This town is easy enough to fit all of us.
The niche, though, because I think not only do you encompass fantasy writers, but I mean, I think you guys have talked about sci-fi versus fantasy. Like in the 90s, fantasy was just coming up. We didn't really put a genre. We lumped it in with sci-fi, but we all understand sci-fi and fantasy is, it's so global and so wonderful, and it's great. But you guys, if you niche in the fantasy, you can grab in anybody you want to, like your guests or anybody. And everybody gets it. In fact, you guys are the cool ones in town now. Game of Thrones, The Witcher, or whatever. It's like, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Everyone else doesn't matter. You guys are what they're all looking for in Hollywood now. So
Fantasy is big right now. Yeah,
Everybody
for sure.
wants the escapism.
Yeah, yeah,
Get
exactly.
away from this predictable and boring world.
and then defining what we think in our subconscious is happening, and and we're tired of the superhero things. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
A genie or werewolf. Yeah, that can happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I love Odin when he's talking. He's like, he just goes off. I'm going, what the F is Odin talking about? Like, I don't like this stuff when I'm listening to your podcast. I'm like, this guy is so geeked out. But, like, where does he learn this? Like, I love when Odin just goes off and he just talks about some, like, werewolves or unicorns. Like, he knows every little myth behind the myth, behind the this and the this. And it's fact.
He does.
They do.
It's insane how
He
much
does.
he knows.
He's done research upon research on like so many like little intricate things. It's funny the things that he knows.
It's insane.
He should be a consultant for this shit. he has a career more than any of us. Like he just like any fantasy writer. Oh, Odin, like Odin.com. Yeah.
All right, Fenrir, you
So-
got the next question?
Yeah. Do you have difficulties writing voices other than your own?
Owned voices.
Own voices?
Other than your own.
I
so from
I
other
literally said that.
perspectives of like own voices.
Yeah.
I don't think I do, but because I'm a hairdresser and I'm always hearing through people's heads when I'm doing them, because I'm even when I'm talking to you, the Mikey thing's kind of breaking up a little bit. Sometimes I'm listening very carefully, even subconsciously or naturally. Again, I'm a good hairdresser, but I'm always listening to like, you say you want long hair, but you don't mean that at all. You say you want red hair, you don't. You're just saying you hate your husband and he has a small.
Okay, so you have a lot of experience.
Writing from other people's perspectives, I say yes because I think it's because I'm a good listener, and I will give them what I think they're saying, even if I don't agree with it. So I think sometimes I go into other people's heads, and that's why my second book was so good. I was channeling some other people. So sometimes I think I can. Again, it's subjective. You're still writing from you.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, do you have any like subtext or Easter eggs in your stories?
Ooh.
You guys, I'm not that smart.
Oh. Ouch.
I know I want to say yes, but you know what? Guess what? When I come back and I rewrite and edit, I find that they're there. I go, that was brilliant. But it's there.
Right. So
Yeah.
happy accidents.
I've done some work with that, and it's there, but it's really just straight out foreshadowing.
Mhm.
It's a plot beat. It's dropped in there. visually in writing form. But
Okay.
when it gets to different levels of text and so forth, I find that it's because maybe because I was, what I was thinking at the time, or if I was suffering from depression or suffering from elation, it's in there. There's a double meaning to it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
told the truth.
Is there like a specific type of scene that you find hardest to write? Like any kind of like, maybe romance moments or anything like that? I don't.
Yeah, I don't like the sexual part, the romance part.
Oh,
It's
same.
not my thing. I'll get upon it. I'll be making fun of it and so forth.
I
Okay.
hate writing that.
The glow stick god, the fiance, who was fictional,
Mhm.
had the smallest penis for his size. And it was disproportional, and I didn't have a problem with it. I shouldn't say I. The character, my main character, didn't have a problem with it.
Right.
But, that just writing in that, it just made me feel uncomfortable, writing, what do you do with that?
Right. Well, that sounds like it makes it fun to read.
That we should be so romantic. We're just more like, nah, I can't touch that. I'm not doing it.
That's
Just a little
awesome.
confession here and there.
I'm going to hell. I know that.
So speaking of length, how long did it take you to write your last book?
The Glow Stick God took me 1 year, exactly, and I think it was my best work. The last one, Murder, there's an after that, will probably take me summer, I bet you. I think I'm halfway through, and I really started it last June.
Okay, so
About a year.
okay, that sounds about
Yeah,
what I hear from a lot of people. So
Yeah. Like I said, when I get into it, I get into it. And I got into the main body of it was the June through like August, September. And I think I'm going to I had a blog, and it's still on Amazon under nonfiction. I wrote a blog, 50 Days of 50, or I was turning 50 years old, so I thought, wouldn't it be funny to write a blog about, 50 days leading into turning 50. And I was being pithy and funny, and then, spoiler, my mother died, and it was like, it turned the course of like, you were complaining about turning 50, and then this person who you love is gone. It was poignant and funny leading up to this thing, and I think I'm just going to roll that into the fiction book, because it kind of, it's funny and totally not funny. And I think that the Murder There's an After That book is just like the first two books. It's none of it's funny, but it's, there's a lot of tragedy to it. So
Sure.
I think I'm speeding up the process of the book being done, because I go, I have that other book. Just throw that in there, and it fits. So it's locking in, unintentionally being poignant, unintentionally being what it should be. Maybe I wrote it for this in the first place. Who knows?
Okay, so do you believe in writer's block? And I know you talked a little bit about how you know that inspiration will come, but is there any tricks or anything that you do to try to get past it, or do you just kind of wait it out?
No, I don't wait it out. I set that time and sit at the desk.
Mm-hmm.
I go, yeah. I just torture myself. Nope, you put it on the calendar. You're sitting here. Do it. Start writing. And after about a week of torture, I don't care if you drink or smoke a joint or whatever, or anybody, like just sit there and do it and start typing.
Mm-hmm.
After about a week, you'll get into it. You
Yeah.
just will, because your body and mind will just go, well, I'm done here. So you start typing.
Right. I agree. I tried that as well, and yeah, eventually it'll start coming back.
I wish I was that disciplined. I just
can't-
I'm not that disciplined.
I mean,
I wish I
sometimes
was.
you end up sitting in front of the computer and just kind of staring at it and not having anything flow. But I mean, eventually it comes. I agree.
I can never.
Yeah, it does. And I think for me, I need the discipline. I have to put it on the calendar. And I have to do it, and I have to go to bed with that intention that I'm going to do it in the morning, and then stick to it. It's like when you go back to the gym. You're like, oh, you know, you're like, I'm done.
Right.
It's fine, but at least you set the intention the night before. You did it, and the next day is better. The next day, by 30 days, you're into it.
Yeah, I guess you do gotta think of it that way. Yeah, I mean, because I
like
do.
make it a habit.
Yeah, I'm used to doing the gym that way, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, writer's block. It isn't a mess. I mean, like I said, I think I'm in catatonic land, just going, oh man, I know I'm gonna get into it. So I waste a lot of time beforehand. Again, I think it's just everybody's process. The writer's block. I think I even did a blog last year on it. That writer's block is just my process. That's what I'm gonna go through.
We did an episode on writer's block, and we all kind of came to different things.
Yeah, I think it just depends on like the reason that you're blocked. There
Yeah.
could be a lot of different things that are kind of causing your creativity to crash.
Yeah, for me, I think writer's block, writing out full, drafts and so forth on books. Those are the two main things writers thought about. Like, they exist, they don't exist, don't do it or do it.
I guess I'll go on to a question then. What age group do you target with your writing? Like young adults, or teens or something like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Gosh, not young adults. The young adults who read it, it'll be interesting because the 80s was definitely the 20s, and the second book was in my 30s, and the young people responded to that. The 40s is when social media was dawning. We were Twitter darlings and all that stuff. So that's going to be interesting to try and make it accessible to young people. Is it young adults? No, but I think younger people like it because this is a person in this book that is not only wanting to stay young and he just really has to, and it's important to him, and he's cool and all that stuff. And I think that has a lot. I think it relates to young people now, that pressure on them that they're ultimately rejecting. I think, like, I have to be cool, I have to do this, but they understand that pressure. So I think he's relatable. The characters I'm writing are relatable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think young people are going to read it, but when I'm writing it, I can't think about that. I just have to think about, my desperation of, gravity ripping me to shreds and all that stuff. So, but I think that's really relatable to young people.
See, I agree with that. I can't focus on what the audience
your
is.
audience,
Yeah, so I could completely understand that. I write the story I want to write. I'm not gonna, if you.
I think you have to let that nerd out or whatever subject, whether it's in hairdresser or fantasy or
Right.
sci-fi, dig deep and crawl into that space, and that's your niche. Do it, and then whoever reads it, because it's a prism. There's people out there, your readers.
So right, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, some of these books are written for 20-somethings, but it ends up being middle-aged women who are sick of their marriage half the time.
Right.
So, like Twilight. Twilight was to appeal to teens, but middle-aged women loved it. So.
What about Harry Potter? Like, Harry Potter was meant for like young adults,
I think
and
that Harry Potter was just consumed by everybody.
Yeah.
everybody consumes it.
Harry Potter is like, I would tell people I try to read Harry Potter and like it, and they'd go, oh, wow, okay, well, go vote for Trump then. Suddenly I'm not of their ilk anymore. They just judge me because I'm not reading Harry Potter. Wow, my people are Harry Potter people. Listen to me, my age group.
So now I know the answer to that because so our next question was going to be what age do you tend to write your protagonist? But the protagonist is generally based off of you at a certain age in your life, right? I mean, so it's
It's been my example. Yeah, I couldn't write from a teenager's point of view anymore. Like, it's just not possible.
right.
I just don't remember that. And when I read Mafia Hairdresser, and it is kind of I hate coming out stories because, I'm gay, so in my age, believe me, I see everything aged, everything coming out through the 80s, 90s, like I never ever do this. But it is a little coming out story, which is a little bit more blossoming when you're a young kid. But now I read it and I go, wow, that I can feel it when I'm reading that guy, but it's so far in the past. You kind of lose that. And I think that's a big part of being young, that blossoming or whatever you want to call it. Right? That
Right.
in the perspective, because you know too much stuff
Right.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
with your age.
Interesting.
So we've kind of like watched you grow up over the course of 30 years if
Yeah.
if we follow the whole thing.
We've been watching you.
I hope, yeah. Like, here's my life. I'm going to leave this for you all. I'm immortal.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
true.
I
Ooh,
shall
it's an
live on.
immortality plot.
Yep.
Oh my God, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here we'll be writing the unauthorized autobiography later.
Yes.
Just be aware that
Really a dick.
there will be
Never.
magic involved then.
Yes.
Oh yes, you'll be. A,
Odin takes over. Really? A sorcerer.
exactly. You're a powerful mage
He was-
now.
He was really a sorcerer all along.
It's all in how they perceive it.
Yep.
All subjective.
Okay. Do you have any kind of quirks or traditions that help you get in a writing mood? Any specific drinks or little,
No, I clean the house. I make everything perfect. Like, I just go clean the house. Everything's the way I want it. The pens lined up, kind of that goofy thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest one.
That makes
Go to
sense.
the gym in the morning,
Yeah.
so I kind of like raring to go, like I'm awake, but I'm not going to fall asleep. That kind of thing.
That's how I
Feeling
prepare.
protected.
Coffee's my new one in the past few years. Didn't drink coffee before 2 years ago.
Oh really?
Feeling productive, huh?
I don't know if I could survive that long without coffee, but okay.
I do listen to podcasts now. Like I think I've listened to your podcast more than anyone's. I've listened to Armchair Expert. That kind of got me into thinking podcasting. And then One Movie Punch, those kinds of things. So I kind of hear what people are doing, and it kind of inspires you. There's a few other writer podcasts I've dabbled with, and just to hear people doing the work, and then it just inspires me to do the work.
Oh, I completely agree.
Reading books is helpful. Like I read a book, and I go, I gotta go back to being a writer. So.
Yeah, for sure. Seeing other people be creative kind of gives you the bug to do it yourself.
That's
I
true,
must
yeah.
be
I'm like,
better.
why aren't I doing this?
Right?
I must be better.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just a problem when you see a movie and they go, I could do it, and then you spend the next 6 months on audition just so I get a play. I did that before. But, now I'll stick with writing.
Okay.
So, how many works do you have in progress right now?
How many works do I have in I've tried to narrow it down. I've got the book 3 that I'm fully into writing the screen version of the second season of Mafia Hairdresser, and then my other job is just querying agents and getting out there, and it just started January 1st in earnest. So I just look at it like that, and then, there's several, I think Tia says she has several pieces of work that she just has files and files stores. I maybe have 3 files of stuff that I want to move into. But I think once book 3 is done, the Mafia Hairdresser with the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles podcast itself, or the TV version, I'm just hoping it just kind of sweeps away. Maybe get some other creative people. It would be really great if a play group said, hey, we want to do all the voices. I go, great. Kind of thing. I'll edit it. So we'll see.
Okay.
My
I'm trying to narrow it down to the Mafia Hairdresser.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and then you talked a little bit about the story grid thing. Are you typically like a pantser or a plotter? Do you write out your bones of the story before you start writing?
Because my books are based on facts, I kind of know the end, I know the middle, and I know the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the theme. Like just an example from as we were to workshop it. The murder that's out for that is book 3, and it's the Mafia Hairdresser's book comes out, yay. Twitter famous, and then Twitter's new, and there's this social media thing. So we floated around, and this happened, and these apps came on, and Grindr, and whatever the straight version is, and people are hooking up and being stupid, and one of my friends got murdered. So, true story.
Oh my.
There's that in the middle of it, and then everything blows up. One little wrong tweet, and then people attack you. I mean, I had stalkers.
Oh my.
Oh.
That's not fun.
Written, and even worse, TikToks were written, and we did book tours and goofy things. So the shady side of the social media was we thought the party would never end, and now we see how it's used politically, and all the companies that would not get on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff who said it's passing bad, you know, they pay these bots to do what they did. So I know what the end result is. It's to where we are politically now, and how it's like now your podcast. Like, now we have to pay Facebook ads to get Facebook people to follow us. What's that?
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
It would be good.
Yeah.
That's the end result. Is it all came crashing down, and now it's eating us alive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can lose people, and people go crazy and manic from the social media, and that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the beginning, innocence, middle, cool, social media is new, and then the end, social media eats us all. So I know how it's going to go, but you put the characters in play with their little personal problems and their little wants and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll just go.
Right. Evolve.
It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm excited to hear that one.
Yeah.
That's easy plotting, though, right?
Yeah, definitely plotting, and I think that's definitely like how I write too. Like I have the bones of the story, and then the characters kind of take it from there. You know, they tend to have a mind of their own.
I trust it, because you know that whole, you know, when I did the thing was just nothing, and it was
Right.
big.
Yeah,
The characters do it for you.
exactly.
Yeah. So, what other artistic endeavors would you engage in if you could not write?
What if I can't get an agent?
No.
No.
What other artistic endeavors would you engage in if you couldn't write?
Oh. Okay, well, the first one is I would kill myself.
Oh no.
If I can't get an agent, I die. So there you go. Now that I heard your question, what other artistic things? I did Second City for a couple years, and I did stand-up. I would never do that again, but it was fun. You know, I was okay at it. And acting I did, but and it wasn't really because I wanted to be in front of the audience. It's just I'm good at it. And it's not that I want the attention. People go, you like attention. No, I just see air in the room, so I'm going to still it because it's just better than air in the room. That's the difference between somebody who wants and needs to be an actor. So I acted, and everyone thinks I would do that, but I want to be a director. That'd be the bestest job in the world. And I did produce and direct a play with my own work, and it was the best time I ever had because these people, you know, they were the best actors in Chicago, and they were, you know, so receptive to what I was saying, but I was receptive to what they were doing, and I didn't care if they changed my words. I was sure, change it. Oh, that works this funnier, and it was great. It was the best time of my life.
That sounds exciting.
It is
You
exciting.
know, all that other stuff, you know, the comedy beat, the acting thing. I did my job. I paid my dues. Now, one day I'm going to be a director.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. I think that would be neat to check out. I think I'm too nervous to be a director.
I'm too nervous to even
I don't
get
know.
in your state.
Direct?
Yeah, I think so. Like, because then everybody's like,
I think you're directing now. You don't use director on your podcast?
I mean, Loki's definitely the sound guy, the creator. He's the mind behind it all.
He's everything to this channel.
But
And, yeah, so you're the director. Fine. You're the director.
I feel like Tier keeps everything moving, though. So
I mean,
There is somebody, like, when I'm in an organization, I'm usually the secretary, not kidding. There's positions and positions. Everybody has to take their role. So when you have a stabilizer in there, that's great.
I never considered that. And now I'm nervous. Thank you.
I've never actually thought this much about the show yet.
It wouldn't care. It wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah.
It's fine. But if you know how I always say when I'm nervous, I go, wait, like, this isn't about you. You have to go up there and you have to make the person look good. Like, that's all you have to do. Like,
Right.
if they start drowning, and say something, you know. 'Cause I've done a lot of interview stuff. And if I'm not nervous and it's all about them, I have no problem.
yeah, that makes sense. When you were young, did you have like a favorite like book or show or something that inspired you to do all this stuff?
I Lost in Space, original version, or when out production, I wanted to be Will Robinson, have a robot. I wanted to live in space, so that was, by the time I'm like 13, I'm telling my parents, like, no, I want my own show. And they're like, we don't know who you are, you're a cuckoo in the cuckoo's nest, we think you're weird. And not even kidding, so I was like telling the show. And police, there used to be, Angie Dickinson was doing a TV show called Police Woman in the 70s. And I ride my bike out of school, and I would go watch them film the interior scenes that were being shot in our town. So I was always like hoping they would find me and they'd see me and I would have my own show. 13. So yeah, I think Lost in Space was it, and then it got me into sci-fi. I love that. And
Interesting.
it was just being around creative people was really what I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever want to work that hard to be an actor. I've done it. But, you know, just books and plays and brilliant people. And listening to you guys, you know, that kind of thing. Podcast. So I think that's what inspires me. I get to hang out with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're hanging out now. How
Welcome
cool
to
is that? It's fine, you know. You just want to hang out with other artists that are doing your shtick. And it can be so different from yours. I don't care. You can tell it's cool, you know?
Right.
I mean, I feel like years ago, this wasn't even possible, what we're doing right now, where we're, you know, you're in Chicago, we're in Ohio, and we're doing a whole show where we can talk like friends. And it's like, I think, 15 years ago, we couldn't have done this.
Yeah.
You know, it's great.
I think it would have costed a lot of money.
So I'm so happy it's come here,
Yeah.
you know. So,
It's the coolest thing ever that we're doing this. And you know, believe me, when it comes out, like, one thing, I'm not bragging, but, like, most of the podcasts that I'm on, they do pretty good. You're coming.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, and I've been the first on some of the first podcasts, like Hairdresser does Your Day Off. It was their first. I was big in social media in the salon and spa industry. And there's that first podcast. I was going to be number 3 in the row. They were doing some bigwig hair person, but mine, they go, I think we're going to put yours first as the debut. It's still the number 1. So
That's awesome.
That's cool. Well,
it'll be the number 1.
we've actually got a queue of episodes that we do just in case somebody gets sick or we can't do something.
For
But
example, tonight.
we're actually bumping you up to, we're going to be putting out the show next Friday.
Play mine again. Like, you can make it episodes 90 and 97.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just keep plugging this one in.
4,376.
So,
I'll retweet all of them.
Yay.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, what book do you think impacted you the most intellectually or emotionally? Like, what do you think, like, really grabbed onto you?
Recently, I'm going to say there's a book, How to Spark Your Golden Age, Tips for Success by Rex Apollo. You know him as Awesome Rex on Twitter. And that was just a recent book I read, and I thought, wow, that was all you need to know. It's like your dad telling you, look, son, you're a great guy. You can do anything you want, and here are the principles you need to go by. And they're all true. It was great. Great guidelines. And it was just something I needed to know. Again, you have to hear that stuff over and over because then life gets around. And one of the best books, I think my best science fiction book writer is, have you guys heard of Dennis Taylor, who wrote the Babaverse?
No, I
The
don't.
Babaverse sci-fi novels?
I don't think I've seen that one.
We're uncultured swines here.
Many of these worlds. He writes on so many different planes. He talks about Easter eggs and so forth. You're writing, and you're like, dude, he is not writing science fiction. He's not writing about bodies that turn into machines. He's talking about quantum physics, spirituality, like it's happening now in your brain, but you don't even know what's going on thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That guy was great.
That sounds trippy.
That sounds awesome.
Came out, I think Dennis Taylor is the best author, sci-fi ever. If you just want something real, I think there's a book called Cold Sunflowers by Mark Sipping. He's great for real stuff. I know Tyr doesn't like real stuff, but it's so heartwarming.
I'm starting to break my way into nonfiction slowly here and there.
I can't deal with nonfiction.
But like even into fantasy, I go, I don't, maybe not my genre,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm starting to see things that I didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. It's just not what I'm reading. It's much more, and globally and society-wise, like, oh, this is what these people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Right,
Yeah.
right. So,
Oh, I did not like Witcher. No, just saying.
no, I haven't seen it yet.
Guess.
Well, it's an okay show. He has no personality, though.
No?
No.
Well, I can't, I'm not a big TV person. I
But-
haven't seen any Game of Thrones or Witcher
Yeah.
or any of those, like, hot things.
He's like a
Me
male
neither.
Kristen Stewart. He has
Oh my
no
God.
personality.
Oh.
I'm gonna say yeah. Same thing. I was like, all right, take off your shirt. I will look at it.
there you go.
You only get a minute.
Oh, you spoke. You spoke. Gotta take a coffee break.
He spoke. We have to go. I gave you a minute.
What got me? I was just like, nope. Pretty sure they don't talk like that back then.
Yeah, it's not super well written.
No.
No, but
Well, it happens.
I can't imagine that's the best adaptation, and that the viewers would think, the true fans are gonna think it was a good adaptation.
well, violence and sex. That's what they were hoping it would sell it. Violence and sex.
It did it for
Usually
Game of
works.
Thrones.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked a little bit about wanting to be an actor when you were young. Did you have any other, career dreams as a child, an astronaut, or any of that?
Singer. I always wanted to be a singer, but
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
don't know if you got to that part of my podcast that you heard me soon. You go, well, that's really a dreamer. So I never could lip sync. In 1992, I'd never been around. I moved to Boys Town in Chicago, and I didn't in their life, gay, straight. It wasn't like separated. And I moved here. I'm like, there's a whole gay section, like. And yeah, you go to West Hollywood, but everyone mixed, right? It wasn't like a thing. It wasn't like you here and these people over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out for Halloween with my gays, and I'm a makeup artist, and I know how to do wigs. So I dressed up like a girl, and I'm an actor. So I pretended to be Judy from Schaumburg, and Schaumburg is those big-haired girls, suburb girls,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a high voice. And that night, people were going, "You're so funny, Judy." And I'm like, no, I'm really a guy. And like, I got hired that night to do a MC for a show, and then from that show I got hired to do another one because I played it quote unquote straight, and I was funny enough on stage and had enough comedy background to, play it completely straight, like this is a girl sing, but a girl would never say any of this stuff,
Uh-huh.
And, so I think my first couple of years was very bad as an actor because I got more gigs as Judy from Schaumburg.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a test.
And I think I go, I'm out of here. Plus, my legs can't handle it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So, So speaking of dreaming and careers, what age did you first dream of being a writer?
Dream. I never dreamed of being a writer.
No?
I don't think I ever dreamed of being a No, still don't dream about it. I have nightmares of it.
Yeah, well, that's the trick there, right? Everybody.
But, just talking to you guys, this is the best part about being a writer. This is it. Talking to you guys about it is the best.
Interacting with other creatives.
We're relating, and we're all tortured, and, it's a weird thing to do it. Doing it, there's nothing to dream about it. And when, those moments where it goes 10 hours later and you've written something, and then you edit 90% of it out, it's crazy. I'm not going to say I ever thought that was going to be a cool thing to do.
It's funny because you're totally right. Like, there's a whole lot of torture that goes into being a writer. Like, your first draft, you're kind of like, okay, this is going to be epic, and then you go back and read it, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Oh my God! Yeah.
One of my first stories.
Yeah.
One of my first stories, I wrote 8 chapters, and then I hated everything I wrote and threw it out, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Wait, I think I remember
when
that.
you're first writing that first draft, though, you're like, this is going to be great, and then you go back and you're like, oh hell no, what happened here? Yeah.
That's why I almost failed creative writing.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I just took out a whole chapter. I don't even remember what it was. The Mafia Hairdresser, when I was getting it ready to query.
Mhm.
And I go, why was that so important? I go, because it's funny. It's standalone. It has nothing to do with moving the story and the beats and then, the thing.
Mhm.
Flip it over and it's not going anywhere. Get over it. And yeah, it's nice. Great. Keep it for something else because it's not going to work. And I think that's the hardest thing about writing.
yeah, cutting out those parts that you that you liked.
So
Yeah.
if you didn't dream of it, then when did you write your first story? Was that...
I was on a work project. I wrote the Mafia Hairdresser screenplay, shopped it around. It was easy because you're not world building. You're just writing. You're in LA. Blah blah blah. This is happening, and people have great hair. And then you have the dialogue. I'm great at dialogue. It's easy for me, and it sounds real. Or if I'm I could write your dialogue. Even though I don't know about fantasy, but I'm writing it down, the vernacular and what unicorns do and all this stuff. So I'm good at that, and that's really all screenplays are. And just as long as you have the scenes, 3 minutes to 5 minutes long, easy, easy, easy. But when with my producer friend, who wasn't producer movies, commercials, and he's like, you know what, you should write a book because books are selling at movies. And this is 1988. And I go, yeah, I should do that. And so I took 2 years to learn how to be a writer of books, and then in 92 I moved to Chicago. So did I dream? It just was a natural progression, and then it took me 10 years to write Mafia Hairdresser. I didn't know it was going to take 10 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be a really good writer. And I wrote other books in between, but nothing that I would ever speak of. Bad.
I'll tell you, though.
Well, yeah, we all kind of start there, though, I think. Your first few books are guaranteed to be.
It's been 10 years, and I don't say you have to take 10 years or never. It took 10 years. It started from the screenplay guy to the guy who feels confident to write a third book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The show has revolutionized the way I've thought about writing, though.
You need to say that again.
Just in camera one more time.
The show is all dialogue and sound effects. So
Yeah.
and I have been very description heavy over the years, especially because I write in a fantasy universe that doesn't even exist. So
Right.
I'm describing, but you paint a full picture with sound effects and dialogue. And it never occurred to me that I could paint so much more of my universe without expositing it onto a page.
Right, and there's so much in there. I will talk about the episodes where they were in Hawaii. And I'm sorry for the little spoiler here for anybody who hasn't listened yet, but you will, damn it. Okay.
I'm
So
being stroked so much. I'm like so thrilled. I think it's not my ego. I really am just so thrilled that like you guys heard those things. Yeah, this is very exciting.
Yeah, but like I was listening to these episodes where you had them in Hawaii, and like you have like Jesse wandering off towards the beach, and there's the sound effects and nothing but like dialogue, and he's like hiding from them, and like everything like going on, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm freaking there with him.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy like how much it just pulls you into the scene. Like it's amazing. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like it almost makes you rethink the way you write, and like, do I really need this like 4 paragraphs of description, or can I work this into the dialogue? Can I work this into I'm hearing footsteps coming my way, or something like that, like action, as opposed to just laying out the scene.
Yeah, I was just blown away by the amount of information you can get from that, and I'm like, damn,
It is interesting. I love how you guys like get that. I love again, maybe a little ego, but I love that. But I think that's a really good thing to talk about all that, because how much information and how are you putting it into your writing, your fantasy book or your sci-fi book? And I look at the writers I mentioned, and I go, God, in one sentence I got so much information from this guy telling me about sunflowers and what they mean to his son and who died, and oh my God, it is amazing what writers can do, or what an editor can do with sound. Yeah, and I'm constantly learning how to do that as a writer, to be to get so much information in a sentence and take out nothing but these extraneous sentences and words. Take them out.
Oh, I mean, it's evoked like senses, like other senses. I'm like, I'm listening to podcasts, and there's a point where I'm smelling acetone. I'm like, so.
All right, I think we have like one question left, right?
We have like 3, don't we?
2 questions.
2?
Okay, so all right, you already told us a little bit about what advice you would give to writers. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, is there anything that you would tell yourself as far as this whole like lifetime of creating that you've had?
Yeah, I would say, I think I said it before at the top of the hour. I said, stick to one thing, don't be distracted. But, there's people who love you, who are really hot that you want to marry. And then, just distractions. And I'm joking about love distractions and relationships and wives and sons and daughters and all these great things. And it's really hard to niche out that time and go, I'm going to cut this time out, at least a little bit every month or a little bit every week for my writing because I want to get this screenplay. It's really hard, especially when you're young and you have friends. Like, I remember in my 20s, you have your pack of guys and you're going out and you're doing the thing. And then the 30s, it's more like, oh, it's dinner parties. And then the 40s, it's just like, let's just bitch about everything and vote a lot,
Right. Right.
I feel personally attacked.
You should.
I'm attacking that man who's not writing enough because you heard it.
That is true.
Deal with it.
That's who I'm addressing. That guy who feels attacked is like, yeah, I'm attacking you. Could you check out enough time for your writing? So that's who I'm talking to, my younger self as well.
So that's the advice you'd give to any young writer, or do you have special words of wisdom for Fenrir, for existence, my son?
Thanks for calling me out.
For example, my son, who is a writer as well. Like,
Ugh.
what would you tell him just starting out?
Oh yeah, I would. I think the younger they are, I think the coolest thing about the younger they are is if you can set them aside, and because they can get more addicted to it than as you get older and older and you have a story to tell. I think I like those younger ones that they just get addicted and they become great coders or great whatever because they get into it. Because you know what they're doing? And I think it's in a healthy way. They're not on Snapchat. They're not on the pressure of Facebook, and they're not falling under the pressure of TikTok and all that stuff. They're really their world. And then guess who they want to talk to? Not the Snapchat and the TikToks and the Facebook and the Twitter. They want to talk to other people who are doing what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Young people who are into being writers. They want to hang out with other writers. So they're going to get nerded out and smarter by being out with other writers. So that's my advice if you're a parent of a kid who writes. Get them in writing things and get them around the other writers. I think it's important.
That's a good point, because those younger kids tend to be little sponges when it comes to something they're interested in.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that the world as it is now, it's not normal. The input, the massive amount of input at the grocery store, the checkout counter, the screens and all that stuff. It wasn't like 400 times more than our grandparents took in information. So depression's higher, and it's just too much, and the
So much
social pressure on it.
Right.
And there's so much information that just doesn't matter.
Right. You
There's
start
a
to
lot
block
of
it out.
useless
Like
information.
other people's opinions of you.
Exactly.
So
That's why I don't listen.
okay, well, that's pretty much most of the questions. The only other thing I would ask you is, what would you have liked us to ask you? What things would you like to tell our audience?
What do I want to tell the audience? Well, first of all, tell everybody about the Dark and Stormy Night, you idiots. Are you not commenting or reviewing? How's that?
We are common.
Share the episode, share it. So, that's not even a plug. Some people don't realize they're getting all this free content and help and inspiration, and yet they're not even sharing it on Facebook or Twitter. So, who's ever listening, you're a bad person and going to hell.
I'm going to hell anyways.
I appreciate that. Shucks.
Thank you.
It's not even a plug. Even sometimes I get busy and forget. I'm listening to podcasts and did I share that? Because they know my numbers are high and they will help people. Great, yeah. But I think we forget that. And the other thing I would tell your listeners is, I think it's just where my head's at now is if you don't take time to be your creative self, and the world is the way it is, meaning whatever your perception of it is, it doesn't matter. It's all that input we're getting that's not healthy. So if you go into your creative self, I think you're going to be a happier person, and you're going to accomplish more. You're going to be more interested. You're going to like yourself more. So just be your creative self.
Well, thank you so much. That was a great interview. Please go check out the Mafia Hairdresser Chronicles. I believe you're on Libsyn, right?
Yeah.
And,
all kinds of places. Libsyn
I
and
listen
Google
to it
Play
on Spotify.
Music, Stitcher, Apple, everywhere.
Follow the Mafia Hairdresser on Twitter. And of course, check out our show as well. So
Also, John David, just keep us updated on what's going on with your work, and as soon as you get your books published or any news that's coming up with the if you end up with that Netflix deal that's Loki's looking for and everything, just let us know and we'll blast it to all of our audience as well.
Oh, I can't wait to see who they cast for Smokey Topaz.
Oh, right?
Wait.
I'm gonna there's pieces of this interview. I go, now I'm gonna copy this and stamp. Use things to promote it because it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got some good stuff here. But yeah, you guys, we are totally friends on Twitter, and so I love that, and I love that. Whatever that we can say, hey, will you tweet this out? Great. It's a great community we got going there.
I think
Absolutely.
so. Yeah. And feel free to hit us up anytime. We're willing to reciprocate.
Yeah.
So, or you can come back on the show if you like.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, John David.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you three. It was nice talking to all of you. Love you guys.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye, guys.